We would wake up a lot of mornings, both of us crying. And then he would say, okay, we got this day together. Let's get up and do what we want to do.
Terri, thank you for coming to do a 7 Questions with Summit Quest interview. I know you have an amazing story that is going to bring a lot of hope and healing to those that listen today. Can you start off by sharing a little bit about your role at the Harbin Clinic Cancer Center? How long have you been there, and what do you do?
Okay, I'll be there 29 years in April. Right now I do billing and insurance. I've been the office manager, front office, back office, just about everything there. But right now I do the financial, the billing.
So do you actually sit down with the patients?
I do not.
Right. Okay.
We have a financial counselor that
And
does
they
that
send you
now.
all the paperwork.
Yes.
Kind of
In the
all that
past
stuff
I
out.
have, but right now just billing, charges, claims.
Sure.
Yeah.
So today we're going to share a little bit, have you share a little bit about the story of your longtime love, Mr. Rick Carter. In 2019, you came home from work one day and life took a drastic turn for you and for Rick. Can you share a little bit about what happened on June 20th?
Yes, I can. I came home from work. He was mowing the grass. We waved at each other. I went in the house to cook supper, and there was a packet of flower seeds on the table, so I took those seeds and went outside. I thought, I'm going to plant these before supper. And when I did, he was sitting under the carport at the garage, and he waved at me and said, can you come here? So I went over there, and he was shaking real, real bad. And it scared me because his mouth was twitching, his face, everything was twitching. So I ran in the house, called 911, ran in the house, and got a baby aspirin because, you just hear if somebody's having a stroke or something, give them a baby aspirin.
Sure.
So I did that. And then the ambulance came, and at that point he was already biting his tongue. I had put a rag in his mouth to try to stop that. But they took him to the hospital, said he'd had a stroke and a seizure, and carried him to Erlanger that night. I called his family, and they all met us at Erlanger. And I kept asking, I guess just because of where I work, and I was worried. He had been for the past year saying he didn't feel right. He couldn't tell me what it was. He couldn't tell the doctors what it was. He just said, I don't feel right. And a few months before this happened, he said, whatever this is, it's going to kill me. And I said, no, it's not. You're being silly, But the day before this happened, we had gone to the doctor. And I asked the doctor, I said, maybe could we do a carotid ultrasound or MRI of his brain or something? He said, yeah, let's get the lab work back and then we'll do those things. And then the next day he had the stroke. Just the timing was strange.
Right.
But I asked the doctors at Erlanger, we saw multiple doctors, and I asked them, could this be a tumor? And they said no, it was not a tumor. They'd done MRIs, it was not a tumor. And after that, every time he had a stroke, I would ask, are you sure it's not a tumor? No, it's not a tumor. And the stroke was hiding the tumor.
So he had multiple strokes.
Multiple. He had 3 more after that.
And they did MRIs every single
Yes.
time? And never
Yes.
could find anything?
Never found anything.
And how old was Rick?
He was, let's see, he would be, 71 now, so he was, 67,
Sure,
something like
sure.
that, 68, yeah.
So that was the 20th. So back and
Yes.
forth, doing MRIs, trying to figure out what was going on, but always just kind of thinking it was a stroke.
Yes.
In the back of your mind, you're just not, you're a little unsure.
I wasn't,
Right.
I just wasn't happy with the fact that it was
Sure.
just a stroke, and each stroke, the first stroke he didn't lose anything. He didn't, with each stroke, he would lose a little bit of mobility on the left side, just a little bit. His mouth would droop a little more. And we would try to do little exercises, like I'd give him beans, and he'd pick the beans up off the table, the little beans up off the table, and whatever I read to do
Sure.
for him, trying to get some of that mobility back. After the last stroke, he was on the walker.
And so at this point, he was retired.
He was retired,
But
yes.
you're still
Yes.
working full time.
Yes,
So that brought a lot of challenges and probably
it
fear
did.
too. Every time
It-
you'd have to go off to work.
it did. A lot.
So, from my understanding, that happened from so June 20th is when
Yes.
this first started.
Yes.
But then from June through August is what you're talking about, as far as
Yes.
you had to face other situations.
Yes.
And you guys were still under the assumption that you guys were dealing with a stroke. But
Yes.
then on August the 9th, you did have an MRI, and that brought the news of a tumor.
Yes.
What did the journey look like after that point, and
Well,
what were some of your feelings?
the neurologist called and told us that afternoon that it was a tumor. After the afternoon of the MRI, and told me it was a tumor, and I waited till I got home to tell Ricky. And then we saw Dr. Kahn. Dr. Kahn sent us the next day to UAB, and we saw an oncologist and a oncology neurosurgeon that same day. And his daughter went with us. She drove us, and they told us that there was nothing really they could do. They said they could do surgery, but it would probably paralyze him on one side. And they said even if it did, it was terminal, 18 months at the very most. But with some of the characteristics of this particular tumor, well, we did a biopsy. Somewhere in there, I can't remember
Sure,
but we
yeah.
did a biopsy, and with the characteristics of the tumor, probably not that long. We did chemo, we did radiation, we did all that, but we
Were
didn't.
you able to do that locally?
We were, yes,
So
oh
where
yes,
you work?
absolutely,
So
oh
where-
yes,
oh, wow.
absolutely. I mean, couldn't have asked for better
Sure.
treatment.
So I guess it's been 2 issues ago in our Voices Over Cancer publication, you shared your story and the story of Rick, and you shared a statement that carries so much power. And that statement was, instead of waiting to die, we made plans to live. That's wow. Can you share a little bit about that?
I can. We would wake up a lot of mornings, both of us crying. And then he would say, "Okay, we got this day together. Let's get up and do what we want to do." So we did. You know, if I had to go to work, he would, even whether he felt bad or not, he would get up early with me, and I'd fix him something to eat. Whether he ate it or not, I'd put it in the microwave if he didn't want it right then. And sometimes we would go. I'd help him down the steps on the little porch, and we would drink coffee down there before we. You know, I got up earlier so we could spend that time together because I did have to go to work.
Right.
Then his sister and brother, bless them, they would come to the house and stay with him or visit him during the day while I was at work. That was a huge comfort to me.
Were they local?
Yes, both of them right here in town. His daughter had recently moved from Atlanta back home to be near him too, since he was sick. That was a big comfort to him. He adored his daughter and his grandchildren. He had 6 grandchildren. Yeah, and the younger 2, they were mine too. All of them were. It was a great family. It really was.
Yeah, I think so much can be said about having that outlook.
Yes.
You can't imagine, unless you've been there, to be getting a timeline to say, hey, we can't fix this, we can't
Right.
take it away, this is what we hope you have. We hope you have this much time.
Right.
But you're not even guaranteed that.
No.
But to have that outlook to say,
Yeah.
we made plans to live.
We did. We planned a cruise. We were going on that cruise. He was hell bent. We were going on that
Right.
cruise. So we made the plans and got our little outfits figured out and all for the cruise. He was so excited about it. I mean, up till the end, he was talking about that. But
You kind of alluded to this, but when a lot of people, when they connect to Summit Quest, they ask if they have a family member or a loved one dealing with a cancer diagnosis. They ask for ideas or insight on how they can best support those individuals. Right. Can you share a little bit about the ways that your friends and family supported you and Rick during this time?
Yes, they called us constantly. They would bring food by. I had people at work that brought food by, checked on me every single day while I was at work. I could not have asked for better support from the folks at work. They didn't have to, but they let me go whenever I needed. If he was at the hospital, they let me go whenever I needed. Just my sister, my son, my daughter, and my stepdaughter, his kids, I just couldn't ask for any more. They were over there every week. The 2 boys were over there at least once a week. And the daughter just lived across the highway, so she was pretty frequent too. And then we still got the grandson some, which that gave him such happiness. I mean, he was so, those babies. He loved those babies. Just be there for people, call them, whether if you don't know what to say, that's okay. Just say, hey, I'm checking on you.
Right.
Because I've had that happen in the past, where somebody doesn't know what to say, so they just stop calling. And that's not a good thing.
And I think what I pick up too is to be consistent. Like a lot of times when
Absolutely,
somebody
yes.
gets diagnosed, there's a big outpouring of support, which is
Right,
amazing.
right.
But then the longer the journey
Yeah.
goes, sometimes
They drop off.
Right.
They
So
drop
be
off.
consistent. Make that phone call.
Yes.
You don't have to have the right words to say.
No, you don't.
Just call.
No, just call. Say, hey, how are you doing? What can I do for you? Can I do anything for you? Thinking about you, something. He had friends from high school. It was so sweet. He had friends from high school that he hadn't seen in years just because of life,
Right.
And they came and they took us out to eat one night, and they would just come and visit with him, sit with him in the afternoon a little bit.
Right.
It was great.
Just be there. Be
Yeah.
present.
Mm-hmm.
So you've worked at the Cancer Center for almost 30 years. How is it different now that cancer has hit so close to home? How do you cope? I know that when you experience cancer so close, that it brings an avenue of connection with others who have faced a similar journey, but it also brings a weight or a burden that you have to carry. So when you walk through those doors,
Right.
how is it different, and how do you cope now?
I can't say that in the past we've had people who haven't, who have struggled with this. If a family member has cancer, they've struggled very much with working there. But I haven't. I mean, I really haven't. These people are such a blessing to me. They are, and they're my family. They really are. And I don't struggle as much as I should. You see somebody in the back of your mind. You see somebody that's doing well and thriving with this same diagnosis, and you would think, you might think, why them and not Ricky? But I don't. I think good for them. Good for them. Good for their family. That's great.
You had one of your quotes in your story. It says, "People ask me how I can continue to do this every day," talking about your
Yep.
work, especially with what happened to Rick. My answer is, how can I not?
Right.
I saw firsthand what we can do together and what we mean to our patients, and I am so incredibly blessed to still be a part of this.
Amen.
Wow.
Amen.
That is a testament of who you are and the kindness that you hold in your heart. So that's very, very inspiring.
Thank you.
Question number 7
Okay.
is also in your Voices Over Cancer story. You shared some lyrics from an old Guy Clark song, and the lyrics are, "He's one of those who knows that life is just a leap of faith. Spread your arms and hold your breath. Always trust your cape." Can you share a little bit about the significance of the cape and how those lyrics still ring so true?
Yes. The Cape story, where I'm a member of a group of parrot heads.
Now,
And
tell us what
okay,
parrot
parrot
heads
heads
are. Those who may not
are
know.
tropical rock or Jimmy Buffett fans. That's what they are. And we've always traveled together since 2010. And some of the guys will want to wear a cape for some of the costumes. And you put this cape on these guys, and they're like little boys. They run around like goofy things, little boys,
Right.
and it's just funny. They're not afraid to do that. But the Guy Clark song it's basically put your cape on. You don't fear anything. You don't, it's nothing's, and I think that's part of it. He was afraid. He didn't want to die. He didn't want to leave his grandkids. He didn't want to leave me. He was worried about me. He was worried about his daughter, his sons. He was worried about that. For them, for us, not for himself. He knew where he was going. And I think that song's always made me happy and meant something to me. And I also have a video of us all in a group singing with a guy that was singing it. We were behind him, and Ricky was there with his cape on, and it's just a great memory.
The photos that you shared in that story, and we'll try to include some of those in the video, if that's okay. But those lyrics carry so much weight.
They do.
We all face times in our life that we're scared,
Yeah.
and that we don't know what to
Right.
do. But that says, spread your arms and hold your breath and just always trust your cape.
Right.
Just go for it.
And I think of his family and myself as his cape. I mean, I'm just Cal, you know.
And that reflects so much more, so I guess directly with, instead of waiting to die, we made plans to live. We made plans to trust the gate.
Right.
And you went for it.
We did.
I never got the opportunity to meet Rick, but reading your story and seeing those photos, and I love, we're Facebook friends, but
Yes.
love all the photos. He just seemed like somebody that you would want to sit down and talk with. He seemed like someone that you would just want to laugh with and love life. You can see that through the photos that you share.
Thank you.
And what a blessing you guys were together, and the stories that you share, and the life that you lived. So thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for inspiring others in their journey of hope and journey of healing.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.